Dear viewers, today I'll show you how to adjust the rear suspension of the Classic 350. The process is exactly same for Classic 500, Bullet 500 and Bullet 350. There are 4 settings for the rear suspension, and by changing them you can change the compression of the spring, and more you increase the compression, the tighter the rear suspension will be, and if you reduce the compression, the softer the rear suspension will be. Tighter rear suspension will allow you to carry more weight, especially if you're carrying a pillion. Now I don't have the pillion seat, and also if the suspension is tighter, the bike will handle better, especially around corners. However, if the suspension is softer, it will be much more comfortable to ride, especially if you're going through bad roads, or especially if there are potholes in the road. Now to change the suspension setting, you need a tool, and this is what you need. It's a very simple tool with which you can change the ratio and increase the compression or decrease the compression of the spring. Now you can do it with a hammer and a screwdriver, but I don't recommend doing that, because by using a screwdriver and hammer you may damage one of the sockets, or you can also damage the paint. At the moment this is in the softest setting, and we will just call it number 4. So this is the softest setting, and what we will do is we will gradually make it tighter with the tool I just showed you. Now one thing you must make sure is that whatever you set or wherever you set this, you must ensure that it's same on both sides. So if you have it in number say 2 on this side, it must be number 2 on the other side as well. So I'll be changing the setting from number 4 to number 3 right now, and that will make the suspension tighter. So this is the tool. This is how you hold it, and just turn it. As you can see, it went from number 4 to number 3. So it's slightly tighter now. We'll make it even more tighter. Oops. So it's from number 3 to number 2. It's even more tighter now. And finally, we'll make it number 1, which is the tightest. That's the highest setting, and the spring is now compressed and the suspension is much tighter now. Now to go back to number 4, which is the softest setting, instead of turning the whole thing other way around, you could just turn it this way and go back to number 4, which I'll be doing right now. One thing you must make sure that this is incorrectly set at the moment, and this is not really a suspension setting. If you leave it here, you will damage the suspension. So you have to turn it all the way. Again, this is not really a setting, this is just midway. There you go. So we are back to number 1 now. So this is the softest setting. And again, I can't stress this enough. You have to make sure that the suspension setting is same on the both sides. So I've got the softest setting here, which is number 4. And I've got the softest setting on the other side as well, and that's 4 again. So what works best depends on your riding style. Now for me, I take this bike for slow cruising around the city. So for me, number 4, which is the softest setting, works best, because if the suspension is soft, I can go over bad roads or off-road or potholes, and it doesn't really affect me. It's easy on my body as well. As I said before, it does affect cornering abilities. If you have the suspension in a very tight setting, you can corner better. But if you're riding a Classic 350 or any Royal Enfield, to be honest, you're not really, planning on going through corners very fast anyway. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask in the comment section. Thank you guys.